So, time flies. We've made it to week 11. So in this class, we will be discussing collaborative writing in second language context. How many of you are familiar with collaborative writing?
Yeah, a little.
A little bit?
Yes.
So collaborative writing is a little bit from peer response, right?
You mean collaborative writing as us doing it or through the reading?
Through the reading and as well as your, say, pedagogical practice. I don't think that you actually implement it in your class at all, right? Yeah, I know, maybe the teachers may be a little bit hesitant because they feel like the students may feel, say, a little bit, reluctant to share all this because you have to have the co-ownership, right? So this is your baby, you should have, say, the co-ownership. So I feel, for some reason, I don't know why the peer response is so popular, but not collaborative writing. Because for me, collaborative writing, you actually add more talents, say, you pour the language resources, maybe collaborative writing, especially with the development of technologies, I feel collaborative writing can be implemented easily.
Maybe they don't know how to.
They don't know, possibly, yeah, that's right. So that's right. So that's reason. Maybe, and so I would talk about, say Dr. Storch's work further, because later the other day actually she mentioned to me that she got a lot of insights from a former scholar who said that everybody's heard of collaborative writing, but we really didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Then here came her book. And then, so actually, she had a book, published, I should say, years ago about this. So just a few years ago, collaborative writing in second language classrooms. And then, since that everything's clear there, a lot of theoretical frameworks, and some, good synthesis of literatures, as well as, say how to implement it in the classes, So, okay, let us begin. First of all, I want to show this to you. I actually, during the past year, I should say, the major, area I have explored is collaborative writing, right? Especially the wiki-based collaborative writing. And, these are the authors of the research articles you read for this week, right? So, this is Dr. Mary Storch, right? And she comes from the University of Melbourne. And she's actually, I would say, the key figures in the field now in the second language writing. She actually will be presenting the keynote speaking again. So she actually has conducted a lot of keynote speaking, this time in Arizona again. So I feel this is really a good person I want to introduce to you. If you are interested in collaborative writing in the future, of course, welcome to introduce yourself. To her, and then of course mention about me, and then that's really good. So me on the right hand, Dr. Wei Zhu from University of South Florida. Dr. Wei Zhu is was my co-advisor before, So this picture was taken back in 2016 when we presented at Symposium writing. Okay, so this is a book, I love that book a lot. That is a monograph from Dr. Storch's collaborative writing in second language classrooms. So again, if you are interested in collaborative writing, maybe you want to do research in the future on collaborative writing, or you may just implement a collaborative writing task, you are welcome to, say purchase the book, or even just borrow it from an interlibrary loan service. Right? So I highly encourage you to borrow from an interlibrary loan. I did that when I was a student, all the time. Right, we are poor, but we really want to read more, right? So I think you actually submit the request, and I would definitely want you to take a look at it. And maybe after reading more, and you feel more interested in this topic, right? Okay. By the way, if you like, you can take a look. I have a book here. You can, see exactly what this book look like. So I do think that it's really reader friendly. But yeah, and you can cover it within just one day if you feel, very motivated to do so. Okay. So today's agenda, I will be discussing reflection paper number 2 to you again. I know actually I didn't seems like I didn't give really enough instruction on peer response 1, and this time I really want to guide you through the reflection paper 2, and then I'll give a lecture on collaborative writing, and then we will discuss the 3 required readings. So that is exactly the time for us to, negotiate our, understanding of these 3 required readings together. And lastly, we will do a short workshop, okay? So I feel that it'd be fun. I never tried this before, because for that workshop, I would like you to have a hands-on experience in collaborating with the partners using Google Docs simultaneously. Can you guess it? I didn't do that before, but I feel that would be fun, because we always want to put ourselves in our students' shoes, right? For example, like, do you really want to do the wiki? Because for wiki, you do it out of class asynchronously. Does it make sense? So when you have time, you contribute to the work, and of course, you have your own pace. But for the synchronous one, it's a little bit different, right? For the synchronous one, I would say you can have the classmates, for example, your group members meet, for example, from 10 to 11, right? And then you, of course, you do not have to come to the campus, right? And then you just need to what? You just need to work at home, simultaneously. Still, I mean, there's some, advantages, right? Yeah, but we'll reflect on that. We may later, once we finish that specific simultaneous collaborative writing using Google Docs, then we will reflect on that and talk more about the mode of communication, in which way you want to have your students collaborate. You want to do face-to-face, or using technologies, which technologies, right? You can even combine a lot of chatting tools as well. Then we'll discuss it too, right? Okay, let's move on. I have already posted my assignment sheet and grading rubric to the, course site. So let us go through it. I know last time I didn't discuss this in class, but I feel, we really want to get a perfect score, and I want to go through this with you again. So remember, reflection papers give you the chance to comprehend, analyze, synthesize, and critique the literature in relation to your preferred topics. So that is to say, you find out the topics that interest you, right? So for example, this time you will have the following 5 topics, right? So you may choose from reading and writing connections, writing assessment, teacher feedback, peer response, and collaborative writing. By the way, which are interesting so far? Which is?
I have started maybe some parts of writing assessment.
Writing assessment? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Same.
Writing assessment. Yeah, that is super, super helpful. Yeah.
I think it's just because maybe I'm most familiar with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Good for
do
you.
the teacher feedback about reading and writing.
Good.
Yeah, I might change the collaborative after today, so who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, good. So by the way, I want you to know that usually we actually assign a certain task that definitely help us, assess the students' learning outcomes, right? So for this assignment, you definitely need to demonstrate your knowledge. You demonstrate your thorough understanding of the field, right? For this task, you may definitely focus on your knowledge in that specific writing topic, right? And meanwhile, I want you to demonstrate your academic writing competence as well. So that is to say, really, really proofread and do your best to demonstrate your writing competency. Okay, so it should be a polished paper. Okay, and the paper should not be the summary. Hi, Shannon. Hi, welcome. So Dr. say Carter, we're very happy to have Dr. Carter to join the class. Welcome. Okay. Thank you. So we're discussing the week's assignment. They will need to finish this by Monday. So we'll discuss certain my weekly expectations, some requirements. Yeah. So remember, your reflection paper cannot be the summary of the topic. So in other words, you try to respond to certain questions. Say you find out the themes that emerged from the readings. Right? Try to synthesize, criticize, critique those literatures, right? Make sense? Okay, and also I have the following requirements. So last time, I know some of you may need to work further on your APA style. I know some of you are really familiar with MLA, but for say applied linguistics field, we always use APA style. So once again, the say documentation style should be something that will be evaluated in this paper. Okay, so adhere to APA, and I definitely encourage you to learn more through the say Purdue online network. Okay, OWL, so Purdue OWL. So this is very helpful resource. Okay, and by the way, I have the grading rubrics for you too, right? So now for sure you know that, okay, these are the grading rubrics, and then these are the grades, and these are the criteria. Okay, you can take a look, and this will help you, say, when you evaluate your paper yourself. Right? By the way, in this, what kind of rubric is this? Holistic, very good. So you talked about different types of rubrics, right, last time, so when we discussed the writing assessment. For me, holistic, say, the rubric is good enough for this assignment. Okay, it is easy to handle and it is flexible, right? Sometimes, we as a assessor have the flexibility. Okay, and meanwhile, it will help you understand my expectations better, right? Okay, wonderful. Any questions? No, so you're fine with, you're happy with this writing assignment, right? So by the way, last time I provided concrete feedback on your assignment 1. So I definitely encourage you to incorporate my feedback on your, reaction paper 1. Then of course, if you incorporate those comments, possibly, your paper will be in really good shape. Okay, wonderful. Now let us move on. Let us discuss collaborative writing, the exciting topic for me. So just now, I mentioned that collaborative writing is my major area. I have explored during the past year, right? So here I want to begin with the background information of collaborative writing. So collaborative writing is actually simply defined as the joint production or co-authoring of a writer of a text by 2 or more writers. So here you can see the key 2 words here: joint production and co-ownership, right? So it dates back to 1980s, when knowledge is regarded as a social construction and writing is a social process, right? So especially, as you know, in the field of, composition and rhetoric, the process approach actually captured more and more scholars' attention in 1980s, because we believe that writing is actually a recursive process rather than the linear activity. So collaborative writing that encourages the collaborations, the interactions, of the students throughout the writing process should definitely deserve more attention. Don't you think so? So for example, when you collaborate with others, you actually even discuss this specific task, clarify the task in a pre-writing stage, right? In the writing stage, you still negotiate your task as well as negotiate meanings, right? Or even discuss the language points for language learners, right? And of course, you continue to come back and revise it, edit it until you produce your perfect video. Do you think so? Yeah. So that is to say, I would say the process approach actually give collaborative writing a good rationale. That we need interaction, especially in second language learning context. Students get a chance to pool their language resources collectively, and meanwhile they can co-construct their knowledge together, right? So I would definitely say collaborative writing has a lot of benefits. Why? Because these are the features of collaborative writing. So after we learn these features, you can say that, oh wow, collaborative writing can afford collaboration throughout the process. Now, first of all, I would say Abby and Lunsford, once again, the composition and rhetorical scholars proposed the singular text, the plural authors approach. So in their work, they mentioned that collaborative writing should be featured by substantive interaction throughout the writing process. Also, it should be a shared decision-making and responsibility for the text produced. And also, it should be a single written product, right? Now, what do you think? What's the difference between these and the, say response, peer response.
Where you're working on each individual paper.
Yes, for the
In-
peer. Mhm.
Yeah, and you're commenting on that paper, but you're not writing it together.
Yeah, exactly. So in fact to say, the peer response usually occurred right after students submit their papers, right? Usually it occurs on the final stage.
And here you feel more responsible.
Oh,
It's because this is your own product. You know that, for example, you're collaborating together, yes, to have a final writing.
That's right.
And so you feel more responsible. But in peer response, yes, you know that this art or this product belongs to another person. Just you're here to give some comments. So you're not that responsible or you don't care too much about it.
Excellent comment. So here, we talked about the co-ownership again, right? I remember John mentioned the other day when you worked in the writing center, right? You feel like, I would just want to write for this person, but I can't because I actually am just a tutor. This is not my work.
Yeah, I did hit myself and say, shut up, so many times.
Yeah, so see, you can see how collaborative writing is very helpful because everybody feel like, oh, this is exactly our joint collaborative work. This is our, say our baby, not my baby. So I feel like that would definitely be helpful in this way. Then in second language writing context, once again, I mentioned Dr. Naomi Storch, and actually she clarified the features again in our second language field. For her, this specific task should be once again shared and negotiated. Decision-making process. Also, it is co-owned and jointly produced that cannot be easily reduced to the separate input of individuals. I like this a lot. A lot of times we feel like the students just combine those kind of separated pieces together. That is not collaborative writing. That is so bad to see, right? We really hope the students really kind of have the joint decision making and they can have a coherent writing that is really reflecting their joint cognition. That makes sense? So I would say this is very important. You don't want to see the task, the work that can be easily reduced. It's like, oh, this is actually contributed by John, and this is contributed by me, and then you combine them together. You even can see the different science, right?
I want to interrupt, but you got me excited. I collaborate a lot, and it's interesting because before that, we think, who sends this? But we have no idea. That process has wiped out ownership entirely. We just want to move what belongs to us.
Exactly. It's amazing, huh? Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So, but later we feel like, wow, this is our work, and they see everything looks so smooth and so coherent. You definitely have a sense of achievement, right? Okay, wonderful. So also the last one is actually very significant because that relates to our second language acquisition theory, because we really want to have the collective cognition. That is to say, you can see this connective cognition emerged when the co-writers reached the insights that neither could have reached or known. What specific framework have you thought of at this moment when we talk about this? You can do something even further than what you can contribute to if you do it individually. What specific theory? Social cognitive theory, very good, wonderful. So we talked about what? ZPP, right? Okay, let us take a look at these specific theories. That is to say, of course, collaborative writing gets a lot of theoretical support. So one thing is the output hypothesis, and the other one is the interaction hypothesis. By the way, have you ever taken courses in second language acquisition? Yes, you did. So if you take the courses in second language acquisition, you are so familiar with these two hypotheses, right? So output hypothesis was proposed by Swain. So for those of you who are not so familiar, so in that specific hypothesis, we learned that for successful second language learning, we need the students to be exposed to not only the comprehensible input, but also to produce spoken or written language that is accurate. So we're talking about this pushed output. So that is to say, we do not just accept this comprehensible input. We need to produce something that is accurate. And of course, that will help us learn languages. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And also, By the way, have you ever heard of dumb English before? The dumb English. You cannot actually say
Oh,
okay and dumb. So you feel like you
There are
you
people who
still maybe
understand
understand
English
it,
but can't
but you
speak it.
never feel like you dare to speak out. So at this moment, you need to produce a certain product that is accurate.
I have seen many people, yes,
Really?
they understand English,
That's right.
even for example, they watch a movie in English, but they cannot speak.
That's right.
So, because they haven't practiced that output.
Exactly. So that is to say, we believe output hypothesis is exactly what we say we believe, and we encourage students to produce that specific either verbal or this textual say outcome, right?
I'm that way with Spanish.
Yeah, it's the same, right?
I lived in Cozumel for a while. My Spanish was okay. It's 20 years ago. Now I can still understand it pretty well.
Oh.
If you ask me to speak it, I don't want to.
That's right. So you need to be exposed to this
And you need to
specific,
produce.
time.
Yeah.
That's right. Maybe study abroad. I mean, for some students, that would help. That would be helpful, right? Meanwhile, interaction hypothesis is another, theory that definitely helps us understand collaborative writing. Because according to Michael Long, the learning actually is facilitated when learners receive comprehensible input and interactional feedback while negotiating for meaning and form. Does that make sense? So, for instance, we have the group work or peer work, right? Students actually negotiate the meaning and forms together, right? They get a lot of, comprehensible input and meanwhile the interactional feedback. So, don't you think? So, this actually provides the rationale for collaborative writing. Because, in which the students get a chance to negotiate the tasks with the goal of, producing the outcome that is practical. Yeah, and also it is supported by the social cultural theory. This is exactly the theory that guided my research during the past years. And according to Vygotsky, the human cognitive development is a socially mediated process. Language and social interaction facilitated learning is a learner's ZPD. Actually, we mentioned the ZPD the other day, right? We talked about in ZPD, Vygotsky proposed the ZPD in his words. It refers to the distance between the actual development level as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. So now you can see if you get scaffolding from the experts or you get scaffolding with more capable peers, the learning can occur, right? The good interactions occur, and of course, which results in a meaningful, negotiation, and that is where learning occurs. Another construct that actually guided the research as well is called scaffolding. So we kind of like, sometimes use scaffolding, as our theoretical framework too, because the scaffolding refers to the graduated and contingent nature of the systems provided by the expert. Okay, especially in second language learning, I should say, Dr. Richard Donado, from University of Pittsburgh. Actually, I met him before when I was a, visiting scholar at the University of Pittsburgh, and he was, super helpful. And at that moment, he actually had a lot of research on collaborative learning in the K-12 setting. So a lot of, I would say, basically, his work is on foreign language learning. Okay, rather than English as a second language, and foreign language is a foreign French and second language. Spanish is a foreign language. So in his work, he proposed the collective scaffolding. Collective scaffolding refers to the speaker. So they tell us that the speakers are at the same time individually novices and connectively experts, sources of new orientations for each other, and guides through this complex linguistic problem solving. Is that clear? What is the key word here? So I love that a lot. That is like individually novices and collectively experts, right? So we feel like, okay, three heads are better than one, right? So we put the three students together and then they pour their linguistic resources. Of course, the product can be better. You think so?
Yeah. Whatever the problem, somebody's going to be in the bus.
Yeah, anyway, I stole that phrase and I have the say the specific title in one of my work, and I have say collective experts, individual say novice and collective effort.
Actually, I don't know, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is what I think, yes.
Yeah.
So when you take a look at these most English books taught in second language
Yeah.
classes, it seems they are based on these theories.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I do agree with you. I mean, especially nowadays, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about the communicative language approach,
Exactly.
I
yeah.
think that we actually base, a lot of teaching methodologies, say on this theoretical framework. So
They are
physical
trying to have
theory.
more interaction.
Because you
like
need an
instead of
interaction.
output.
That's right. Very good. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. You agree? So we sort of see something like we just kind of like memorize everything, like do a lot of drills, right? I think that is definitely outcome-based, right? We need to actually have the, say the meaningful communication, authentic tasks, interactions, say communicative tasks, for students, right? Yeah, I do think so. Thank you, Reza. Next one, let us talk about the pedagogical support. A lot of research studies have shown us that it enhanced the audience awareness and reflective thinking. Also, it increased attention to grammar, lexis, and discourse. Right? This is very helpful for the language learners. Right? And also, it developed the writing skills and linguistic competence. Did you remember we mentioned the two approaches before? Write to learn, or learn to write. I do think this is a perfect thing which can cover both. Don't you think so? We learn to write because we definitely needed to develop our writing skills. But also sometimes we just use writing as a tool to demonstrate our knowledge in linguistic features. That is also a good task, right? So later we will discuss these pedagogical issues once we finish our hands-on experience. We'll come back again and discuss what specific task can be really helpful for our students. Okay, so next one, you can get an opportunity to apply the newly learned knowledge. If we have some new knowledge learned, and then you collaborate with others, you tend to kind of like demonstrate your knowledge and you construct the knowledge together, right? So if you can apply the new knowledge. Lastly, I think this is really important because it can prepare advanced learners for writing in the workplace. How many of you believe that in the workplace we need collaborative writing or teamwork become more and more important? Don't you think so? Yeah, exactly. In the digital age, we feel like we definitely need to contribute to this group work, right? Especially we need to write something together. Then I would say, if you assign students the collaborative work or collaborative writing tasks in their university classrooms, that would definitely prepare them well for their career in the future, right? Yeah, so I do think that there are a lot of good reasons why you want to use collaborative writing tasks in your classes. Here, I want to mention, computer-mediated collaborative writing has been increasingly implemented in secondary classes because we know the technologies have been, say, burgeoning and, for example, wikis, Google Docs, all these technology tools help the students to, say, collaborate. Would you think so? Right? Why this is important? Why should we use computer-mediated collaborative writing? Any advantages you can think of?
We live in a digital age and everything is we no longer write the traditional kind of paper way. Yeah. So it only makes sense to incorporate that in pedagogy too.
Wonderful. So meaning that it is even more authentic, right? Things that it resembles what we actually are doing, right? We shouldn't kind of like face-to-face stay in the library for 1 day or even 2 days. That is impossible, right? Yes. But we, I agree. Any other thoughts about
easy
this?
and fast access to it. Yes.
Yes. It has easy access and we can contribute at a different pace, right? That's right.
It also expands your student pool, and you also, for some writing is difficult in paper. You
That's right.
eliminate that task for a student when you allow them to use the keyboard.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I
then
love that idea. That's right.
promotes just restricting in-class writing to out-of-class writing, because then if they're out of class, they can always, if it's a Google Doc or a wiki, they can always do it even outside of class.
Exactly. So that is to say the learning can occur even outside the classroom. So we extended the opportunities for them to learn. Exactly. Exactly. So lifelong learning goes like that, right? So here I want to point out the importance of this mutual, the more equal participation. I don't know whether you feel this in your language classes. Some students really are shy to speak out. They feel like they want to contribute, but they always didn't get a chance to contribute, right? So if you do it online or synchronously, they can always find opportunities to contribute. Does it make sense? So you can feel, wow, this person is so eloquent, right? She or he can be eloquent in the, say online settings, but in the classroom, life is limited. I mean, say class time is limited, and it's always dominated by some students. Do you agree? So again, I think this is very, significant. By the way, if we do asynchronous collaborative writing, you may even feel like, oh wow, you give me a chance to refine my thinking. I can reflect on my paper really well because it gives me like, for example, extended hours, I should say. At least usually we have 2 or 3 weeks to work on a certain project, right? So once again, this is a good combination of interactive aspect of written conversation and the reflective nature of composing.
Quick note on the asynchronous
Yeah.
aspect of, Lily and I are working on our project together.
Oh, wonderful.
And I was typing on it, and I didn't know she was online, and I was typing and doing whatever. And as soon as I saw her start to edit the text too, it completely changed how I was viewing my typing, because I know I'm being observed now.
Oh, really?
So and I don't know if I wrote anything different than I would have, but you instantly become aware of now you have an audience.
That's right.
And so I saw that little thing pop up, I was like, oh,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
somebody's watching this.
Exactly. So later we will experience the same thing, actually. Maybe very similar. We will collaborate, say on a certain, very short, essay. I should make just a paragraph, and then we will reflect on this, experience.
So I guess the asynchronous gives you a little more
I think
relaxed
so.
to make mistakes.
For me, I did research usually on, asynchronous communication, task design, so because I feel like that is more natural.
Yeah.
And or I should say, give students more opportunities to, say reflect on their learning, right?
You make mistakes.
Yeah, and that's right.
But I feel like if you're doing research where you want to really see what, like cognitive research, what they're really thinking.
Yeah,
in
so
real life
feel like it's
context,
necessary, right?
Yeah, you might want to see the
That's right.
changes that they make and
Exactly.
why they make those changes.
That's right. So there's definitely, I think so. Yeah, there's still room for this synchronous communication, right? We will test it later, right? Okay. So by the way, how many of you actually know wikis? A wiki is a collaborative website that you can contribute, edit, revise freely, right?
We had a wiki in the writing center that got closed down.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't use it that much.
Okay, that's right. So here I would say some wiki tools are very helpful because it has not only the edit function, not only the history function like Google Docs. Also, it has the discussion and comments function. What I like is this, a lot discussion because it can just have like the discussion board. Does it make sense? Just like our say course management system. Then to learn when you submit everything and you use the say threads, discussion threads. And I like that because especially when you say discuss at the pre-writing stage, you always want to brainstorm and you want to clarify the task and you want to say reach consensus on the writing directions, right? So I think that discussion function works well. So I'll show you the screenshots here. And this is exactly what I did in my research study. And this is exactly what the discussion looks like, right? The students actually have the different, discussion threads, right? They posted a certain thought, and then the, say, classmates or the group mates came and respond, and they continue to discuss, right? And the second one, did you notice that there is a specific, say, highlighted text here? So that is the function of comment. So comment is a little bit different. Comments usually focus on this individual or specific texts. Does it make sense? You do not, say take this general, writing task as the overarching goal. You just really focus on the language issues, right? For example, if you really feel like, okay, do you think this is correct or this is accurate? You can leave a comment, because sometimes students feel, I really am not sure whether I should correct this or not, because you are still language learners, right? You're not sure. And then you can actually comment on that specific text, right? And meanwhile, sometimes you can even comment on the rhetorical structures. Do we need this section at all? Or can we rephrase it? Whatever. I think these comments, function is helpful too. Right? And then the last one is history. Google Docs, everybody is familiar with, right? Also, it has a history function, right? You can tell who did what and which time. Those green texts, according to, the wiki tool, means those texts that were added. The red texts are those that are deleted. Okay? So judging from this, you can see wiki interaction can be easy to the researchers, right? And the researchers can track every specific process, comparing with the face-to-face clarity writing. This is definitely better, right? Especially when you score or evaluate the students' work, especially their collaborative work. You really know for sure, like, who did what in each individual contribution, right? You can monitor, I should say, the process easily.
Actually, is there anyone, for example, to monitor and revise the final draft on wiki?
Yeah, you can do like that. So that is to say you are thinking about focus on the revising stage rather than the pre-writing stage. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, for example, so when you have something on wiki, it means that it is definitely true or not. It can be a reliable source or not.
Oh, that is something to do with Wikipedia. I would say for Wikipedia, a lot of scholars hate it, right? Hate those so like, that is not so reliable. But for me, to be honest, I feel like I kind of had my kids, search at Wikipedia first. You can learn from there. You do not kind of trust everybody there, whatever said there, and you need to judge it. Say judicially, of course, you have your own, understanding, and of course, you can test it out. You can do more research. But to be honest, I think that is still helpful. This is my personal understanding, because I feel like I use Wikipedia. And I feel, if I really didn't know anything about it, let me check and I get something, But for this wiki, it's a little bit different from Wikipedia, because this wiki tool gives the, I should say, users to just focus on their individual, I should say, group work. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So you can set it as a private. Does it make sense? So in my wiki studies, I always set each individual group's work as a private rather than public. Not like Wikipedia, everybody sees it. But especially I know some students feel, really I want others to take a look at my project, because at this moment it is still ongoing. Then I set the private settings for them. I think that works. They feel very safe. Right? That's right. Like John mentioned that you don't want to actually feel like you are kind of monitored or observed by others. It influences a little bit your writing process. So taken together, we will go back to this research, field. So when we talk about the collaborative writing, in both face-to-face context as well as the computer-mediated collaboration, say communication context, we always have such research strengths, right? So, for example, we explored a lot about the patterns of interaction. We explored the factors influencing the peer interaction, such as task, types, and second language proficiency group. There are a lot of factors that may influence the, quality of the writing or the process, right, of students' collaboration. And also, collaborative writing product is an important strength, right? We want to focus on the qualities of the product. So since they have a really good patterns of collaboration, maybe the result can be really good of high quality, right? So whether there are some connections between the patterns of interaction and the writing product, right? So this is another strength. And the last one is students' perceptions. It's always important for us to know students' perceptions and their reflections about a certain, writing text. Now we move on to the next phase. I would like you to discuss these 3 papers. We have 3 required readings for this week. So basically, I would like you to really kind of like refresh knowledge in, say, research, especially in empirical studies, right? So that you could say, I want you to analyze this specific study from the aspects of, for instance, purpose of the study, context and participants, the grouping, and the, say, study procedures, data connection, data analysis, and results and contribution. Does that make sense? So I hope that after you read all this and analyze these research articles, you feel like you actually become more familiar with the genre, right? The genre of research articles. And it seems like you are more capable of writing such research papers, right? Okay, try to incorporate your knowledge in empirical studies or in research methods into this task. So I will give you maybe a few minutes, right? And then try to go through all these aspects, then we'll discuss together. Okay, I think possibly you want to focus on the data analysis, right? I mean, some of the answers are so, so evident, right? Like participant, of course, it's easy to identify. But how about the analysis? How we can, relate these research studies to what we have covered in the past weeks, right? We have already covered a lot of modules. So the first one is Storch's, 2005 work. So she focused on the product, process, and reflections of collaborative writing.
This was an interesting paper.
Yeah, I know.
It read differently than the other paper.
Really?
Yeah, I can't.
Interesting.
When I read it just read.
Which way?
I actually was trying to think about which way it read differently. It seemed less maybe structured. Is because the previous ones were very, you knew exactly where everything was going to be.
I see.
And then the Stork one, because all the questions you had up, I have them down here.
Uh-huh.
And the previous 4, it was really and in this one, I had to look, it was less straightforward, I guess, than maybe the other 4.
Okay. Yeah. Good comment. For some reason, because actually you feel like sometimes you really follow those, for example, the components of the genres, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like what are the essential elements? Because you know a lot about like academic writing and research papers, you know for sure, right? What are the specific structures and the sections? And then you feel like, okay, I even know in the next paragraph we are talking about what, but this one is a little bit different.
It's a little different because I even went back and looked at maybe the journal because I thought maybe it's not in a second language journal. It felt like it could have been written for an English journal or something else.
Oh, interesting.
Not necessarily. I couldn't pinpoint what it was about the paper that felt different.
Yeah.
That's
How
why.
about other thought? I think this is definitely a unique thought. Did you guys have a similar
Just because I've been reading a few articles from this same journal,
Yeah.
the SLW journal, it seemed similar to others.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just because of that. I was familiar with how they structure
The journal.
Yeah.
We can discuss more.
Yeah.
I would be very happy to help you analyze and reflect on this experience, why you feel like it's a bit different from others. And that's very good. That would be definitely helpful, right? For our own writing in the future, right? For example, like me, I will really sometimes I'm so impressed with this writing style. I want to learn from it, right? And or something that you can add to it, or this is not what I like. But for this one, I think everything is clear, right? Even though you feel not kind of like easily. I think
It's just something about the style that felt different.
Yeah.
I could tell the writer was.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly. Yep. Do you need some more minutes? to go through these questions? Oh, yeah, sure. Are you ready? Yeah? Good. So what is the purpose of the study?
To investigate the nature of dyadic interaction in adult ESL classroom.
The interactions. So are you talking
So
about the
yeah, exactly,
two and the
yeah,
five?
to working on, exactly, it was on collaborative study.
That's right.
Yes, so it was examining the collaborative study.
So by the way, is that the 2002 or 2005? We are talking about the 2005 one, right?
Oh, I'm
Process
sorry.
reflections.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll definitely discuss
That's
that
it,
very
yeah.
soon. Yeah, this is the second one. That's right. Okay.
The product.
Yeah, but I know you have already read it all, right?
Yeah.
At home. So
So this one looked at are individual, products produced individually better than produced.
produce the you say collaboratively, right?
Yeah, what is the nature of the difference?
Very good, very good. So do you think that it is really easy for us to identify because the title even gives us the key points there, right? Yeah, product, process, and reflections. Especially that is good because now we feel we never compared the collaborative writing with the individual writing, and this work based there, right? We compared the differences, right? Very good, right? So product, of course, qualities of the collaborative writing, right? Is that right?
Mhm.
Yep. Now, how about the second one? Context and participants.
ESL writing class for at an Australian university. There's two
That's
authors.
right. At the Australia University, did you notice that actually this come from the same project? The second, work, published in 2002 also, came from the same context, I believe, right? The participants were
They were level checked and so they were by the university and they were enrolled in these classes based on the
That's right. Based on their language proficiency, right? So I would say most of them are international students, don't you think so? That's right. Very good. How about grouping and writing tasks?
There are two levels, a higher level, and basically ESL 1 and ESL 2. It's the two groups.
Yeah. So this is the small group or the large group. So sometimes we do the large group, but this is very
Small.
small. Very good. Very good. So in just the pairs, right? Right? In pairs. So that you say that's reason just now say Rita mentioned that it's a dyadic interaction. So this is really the peer work, right? Dyadic interaction. And also talking about the writing task. What was the task used in this study?
compose short 1 to 2 paragraphs.
Yes, that's right. And especially for that composition task, that is the data commentary work, right? That is very interesting. Data commentary. The students were given the chance to read the diagram, right? So read the charts, for example, and then analyze it. So this is the exploratory writing, right? We tend to use that in our classroom too, right? So practice genre. Okay, what are the data collected?
She used both qualitative and quantitative methods. So she did a t-test for the quantitative aspect, and then qualitative she collected interview data.
Good. Very good. So any other comments?
Uh,
Add something?
Fluency, accuracy, and complexity for testing.
Oh, good. That's right. Very good. Then how about the specific, say, measures? For example, if we need to analyze the composition, what specific measures do you want to consider?
T units.
T units for what? We use T units. T units is a good techniques, right? To test what? To measure what aspect is that called? Is that accuracy or is that complexity?
It's accuracy and complexity.
Very good. So accuracy as well as complexity, right? In week 3, we actually, discussed the, different measures of the writing qualities, right? So very good, very good. So especially when you have the textual approach, right? And then for sure you want to analyze the accuracy. Language learners, of course, should bear accuracy in mind and also complexity. So you use T units to write, complicated sentences or not, right? Or the, say fluency. How was the fluency measured? It is very
It's like the total number of words.
That's right. It's very interesting. In writing, we just say have that word count, and then we believe that is one way to measure the fluency, right? You can argue that, but I mean, this is actually kind of like the common, say knowledge. We feel okay. We agree that the more you actually wrote, and then they feel like the better you have a good comment, right? You have the comment of English. For some reason, I don't know why. Say a certain say approach. I know. I mean, years ago, I should say 1 decade ago in China, there was a very popular writing approach that is just called long writing approach. So the approach shows that the studies even show that the longer you write, the better improvement you can make. So that's so interesting. And a lot of scholars actually debated on that. I don't know whether now it was still, say, I mean, at least I didn't see such kind of approach discussed in an international conference, say during this decade. But I mean, like in 1990s, I remember. Yeah, that was so popular in Chinese classroom, pedagogy, and I feel like, oh, you need to assign students a lot of long papers,
I bet the students didn't like it at all.
The longer you write, the better you can achieve. Yeah, that's not the case because you need to also consider the coherence, right? Or even like the clarity and the say. And sometimes I feel like it's even easier for you. More difficult for you to write a short paper, right? So because you need to be concise, right? Sometimes. Yeah, that's right. So how about the dialogue? How about the analysis of the dialogue? Because you want to analyze the process. In a face-to-face communication, you definitely need to analyze the dialogues, right? How were this dialogue measured?
They measured it in 3 phases: the planning, the writing, and the revision phase.
Very good. So different phrases, especially like, for example, like task clarification, right? Or even like a language-related episode, right? Are you familiar with this term, LRE? Language-related episodes. So those are the episodes where students elaborate on the lexical as well as grammatical issues. So it's actually basically, you just need to understand this is something to do with language negotiation. They tend to co-construct their knowledge of the meaning of certain structures. Right? For example, they would discuss in which way you can, express the, ideas in, say, accurate English, standard English, something like that. Right? They discuss the errors, they discuss the, say, lexical choices, something like that. Okay? Language related. Very good. What are the results?
The pairs were more complex but shorter
Good.
text,
Very good.
which makes sense intuitively.
Why is it more accurate?
Because you have 2 heads.
Oh, 2 heads are better than 1. 2 heads are better than that's right. So can we understand this way? Because we actually get students opportunities to work on together, negotiate these languages. So they are involved in a lot of language-related episodes, right? They pool their linguistic resources together. That's the reason why their qualities are better, especially in accuracy, right? Very good.
I was surprised that they were more succinct. For some reason, I thought
Yeah.
if you have two people writing,
We can combine
yeah,
them
you
together.
combine, you
Right?
say, oh, I had this, or, oh, we can also say this, and make it less, succinct, but apparently not.
But don't you think that's good evidence, so the indicator that this is of really high quality, because we assume
Yeah.
this definitely has really high degree of coherence. We just regard them as just one, right? And they produce them together. Yeah. But anyway, we may find different answers, right? If we, say, analyze them. You conduct your study in your own research, setting, right? In your classroom settings, right? It might be different, right? But that is good for us because at this moment, we know for sure the collaborative writing gives the students opportunities to engage in the writing process and they negotiate the language so that their writing qualities, are satisfactory or are really good, right? Then other thoughts about writing process?
But it seemed like when it came to the planning phase, they didn't spend a lot of time on the planning phase.
right.
They spent most of the time in the writing phase.
Yeah.
Except one pair that it says they misunderstood the instructions. But it makes sense that they didn't spend a lot of time planning. But I was kind of surprised and thought they would really sit down and say, okay, how do we outline this paper before actually going in to write? But they didn't plan for very long.
It's like for face-to-face, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I love the, say, wikis or Google Docs, especially wikis. You have a discussion board, and then you definitely, can assign students this space. You just focus on the pre-writing stage, and then collaborate, right? Right? Here we go. And then how about the attitudes? Students' attitude. Any thought? Students are called positive attitude toward this task, right?
No, it was generally a positive attitude.
Generally positive attitude.
Because they got a chance to share their ideas.
That's right.
As compared to individual writing, just like the literature said before,
That's right.
they came to co-construct together.
Exactly.
Have they ever done studies where it's similar, like you do this and then you follow up but switch the groups up to see if the positive attitude had more to do with the group you were in and not the actual what you were doing, but who you were doing with?
Oh, exactly. This is a real excellent point, right? So usually when we do the collaborative writing, we feel it's easier for us to handle, right? And then always have these specific stable groups, right? But however, it is suggested that if you feel a certain patterns of interaction, for example, for some groups, they actually feel, it's kind of like the group member may feel isolated, or they feel, okay, I just have the dominant person who really kind of take care of everything. I really want to, have a better voice. I mean, if you monitor that specific patterns, then you definitely want to switch a little bit because we always want to find out what helped and worked best for the students, right?
Yeah.
But that would be a very good research, direction, right? You can focus on, the influence of this grouping, right, on the, collaborative writing tasks.
Because I find in my 1301, by about this time you found kind of good groupings for everybody to do their peer review work. It's productive. As opposed to the beginning semester where some of them are just disastrous because they don't go well.
That's right.
And then sometimes they do it, organically, but sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm splitting you guys up and putting you in different groups. You just don't, it doesn't improve your writing at all. So the grouping, how you group people really does matter a lot.
We definitely want to discuss this further later, but at this moment, I'm thinking when we group the students, usually we consider their language proficiency levels. We don't want to, have students really, of all like very, very low proficiency levels, because that is hard for us to see the mutual scaffolding. You know what I mean? We want to have because I remember in my research study, one group, I would say, they definitely didn't achieve much because they mentioned that, we do not really have anybody who is better than me, and I feel it's so bad because actually I cannot, solve all these problems. So were my classmates. my group mates, So they need to say say language proficiency level should be one factor, right? But meanwhile, think about the cultural background as well, right? For example, if we have always, for example, I know some of the program always have Asian students, especially like Chinese students. If we put them together, they tend to just use Chinese to communicate rather than use the target language, right? So possibly this is what you want to avoid if you really don't want them to communicate using target language, right? So that is to say the language, say cultural background, the first language cultural background would be, important too when you do with the students.
I thought about that exact thing when I was reading these, because I agree with that, but also it might actually help in the writing process if you could work some things out in your L1
That's right.
before putting it up and writing it down. So if you had 3 Chinese students together, they could write it, but if they had something they couldn't really figure out, they could resort to their Chinese and figure it out and then go ahead. So I think they're positive.
That's right. So that's the reason why you still feel a lot of research studies that address the importance of a first language in second language collaborative writing tasks, right? Still, this is another really well done, John. So this is another, research, say direction that you can, of course, say investigate in the future, right? So just to focus on the role of the first language and the second language in a collaborative writing tasks, right? Everybody agree that sometimes the first language even works better, right? Especially when you negotiate something and you feel like it's so hard for you to reach consensus, and then you revert to more, first language.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out not the language, but the concept.
A concept as well. That's right. Good. So we are good with this article. Very good. Now let's move on. So we have the second one, Schwartz's article in 2002. I know this is focused on a dynamic, say a dyadic interactions, right? Okay, I'll give you maybe 1 or 2 minutes to cover all this again. I know you guys read this already, right? So the contents, research questions, data connection and analysis, as well as the results and contributions. How will this work, by the way? What is your general understanding of this? What do you think of it?
I think it's really cool because I like the whole idea of, when students, kind of like what John was talking about, the dominant and the less dominant students. It happens a lot. And when I was reading this, I kept thinking of assessment. How do you then assess this? Because if they collaboratively created a product, and one person was obviously the expert and the other was the helper, is it really fair to grade them at the same, give them a collective grade? I don't know.
That is a really good topic we want to discuss further, addressing assessment, right? Yeah. So you want to have just one score, or you want to have a separate score? I definitely have answers for my class. I feel you don't want to have the individual score for each individual student, even though you want to encourage their, individual accountability. But there's always ways for you to do so, right? You can actually see the neutrality and the equality. We mentioned this actually in this class. You can test it out. You can see for sure whether they engage with each other's contribution or they have the equal contribution. And take this writing process into consideration when you grade the student. You don't want to just focus on the writing product.
Yeah, that's a great thing about that wiki is you can see.
That's right.
Because of group projects, you watch them and you see them and you say to yourself, okay, I know who did all this work in that project and who didn't.
So are you ready to discuss this? Okay. Research questions. Context is the same, right? So we mentioned that. Research questions. What are the questions here?
3 of them. So you have what patterns of dyadic interaction can be found in an ESL university class? And then does task or passage of time affect the pattern of dyadic interaction, and do differences in the nature of the dyadic interaction result in different outcomes?
That's right. Good. Very good. So those are actually posed very explicitly, right? Then how about connections, data connection? So we connected. So she connected the different patterns of dyadic interaction and as well as the links between how to address these questions, how to find out the patterns of interaction. Any thought? Reza?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Sorry, I think I missed this article on this.
Yeah, you have this out.
Yeah, I have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So do you?
There's two of my school.
So do you think that
Oh,
this specific? Yeah, this is exactly what I saw. What do you think about this specific, patterns of interaction? Did you notice this model there? What do you think of that model? Model on page 128.
Oh, 120.
Yeah, I love that a lot. So I really want you to comment on that.
So it's like the collaborative, the dominant.
That's right. That model, has already shed light on the future studies a lot. I mean, even now that the research on computer-based collaborative writing still rely on this specific model.
I think these are the patterns that she found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. According to two indexes, right?
Yeah.
What are the two indexes? Equality
Yeah. It was equality and
and
mutuality.
mutuality. That's right. That is so good because when you analyze that, you really want the students to have the equal participation, right? Right? But also you want them to be engaged, right? So to have the mutual scaffolding. So that's the reason I feel this is so good. Whenever you analyze the group work, you want to take a look at, or you want to examine the equality and mutuality. But by the way, here I want to emphasize that this equality refers to not only the equal contribution, but also the equal degree of the control over the tasks. Does it make sense? So even though we contribute maybe very roughly the same kinds of words, but maybe somebody take leadership and of course the dominant the directions maybe. But so here when we talk about the equality, we focus on not only the equal participation, but also as well, equal contribution, but also as well as the same degree, at least a similar degree of control over the task.
And this is what she found. Yes, this is. But I summarized this.
That's right.
So, she examined patterns of interaction in pair of writing in terms of equality and mutuality.
That's right. This is
Then
so
she
good.
identified 4 interaction patterns.
That's right.
That was collaborative, dominant passive, and expert novice. And this, or the result was that, or the evidence was that, usually group 1 and group 4, in collaborative and expert novice, yes, these two groups showed evidence of more object, means more transfer of knowledge.
Very good. Why? Why these patterns are good? So we're so happy to see that, right? So this is thank you, Rita. This is excellent point. So actually at this moment we know different patterns of interaction may lead to different results, right? For those, what kind of the interaction may encourage learning?
I think in group 1 and group 2,
That's right. Group 1
and group 4,
Very good.
the
So
group expert novice, there was more interaction.
Very good.
Yes.
more interaction, or in her words, more what? Higher degree of
Knowledge.
mutuality,
Mutuality.
right? So that means the higher degree of mutuality will help us, with the writing process, which will lead to the better quality. Does that make sense? Thank you. That's so good. In my research studies, I actually based on this study, and I actually again use the two indexes, mutuality and equality. However, I have my operationalized definition of equality and mutuality in my wiki collaborative writing. Because not like the face-to-face classroom or face-to-face, collaborative writing, the students actually have a different phase in that collaborative writing task. For example, they have the pre-writing stage, they discuss using the discussion board, and then they continue to write using the wiki page and the wiki history. And then they continue to revise, right? So that's the reason I defined, later you'll see, so my colleagues and I work, so there I have the language functions, focus on how we negotiate the tasks, right? And the writing change functions focus on the writing process. And lastly, the scaffolding strategies, right? However, I definitely, benefit a lot from this specific analysis because you analyze the different degree and then you identify the patterns of interaction. For example, if you have high equality, high mutuality, this is a connective and a collaborative pattern, right? But if this is a low equality or even no mutuality, that is really bad collaboration, right? So you can maybe, you can label it as a, dominant or withdraw or something like that, right? It makes sense? You can always label your own patterns of interaction, but this specific indexes would be definitely helpful for you to understand the interaction. Clear? I think this is one of the contributions that is so helpful. And somebody, say, a lot of people actually say developed this, specific model, and even add more patterns to that specific, say quadrants. Remember the 4 quadrants, right? And then you can have different patterns, right? Again, it shows us the patterns of interaction is important for collaborative writing. We want to encourage those collective or collaborative patterns. Is that right? Very good. Okay. Let us discuss my work. My colleague and I completed this, article and published this article in Journal of Second Writing in 2017. What do you think of? So we discussed the connections between interactions and the writing products.
It was interesting how they kind of each had their own way of working together within the group. And I think you could expand this beyond just second language. This is just a general good writing, good analysis. You wouldn't have to limit the conclusions of contributions just to LT.
Oh, wow. That's good. Good to know. Yeah. That's right. You mean it even can be generalized to a larger context, right? I think so.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. This isn't just limited to L2. This knowing this is beneficial too.
That's right. Oh, good to know. Yeah, I just really want to tell you, I hope after reading this article, then you feel like, wow, I can stand on the shoulders of the giants, right? Because for me, I just feel like, oh, wow, I stand on the shoulder because I draw on their, say, analytical framework, just now I mentioned, right? So I try to analyze the patterns of interaction using mutuality and equality. However, of course, I developed that analytical, framework because that is the, say, repeat collaborative writing rather than the face-to-face collaborative writing, right? It's always nice, especially for you, doctoral students. You always want to stand on the, the shoulders of giants, and of course, you reach high. You see farther, right? So this is what you need. You do not repeat what others have already done. You really want to, of course, draw on this successful experience, but you want to move forward, right? You want to move this specific field forward, right? So I would be happy to share with you my experience. So first of all, again, I would like you to cover these, say aspects. The context, the writing task, the data connection, data analysis, results, and contribution. What was the purpose of the research questions?
To understand the qualities.
Yeah, quality of the writing.
So the products and then how they link to the process.
That's right. Very good. Previous studies actually didn't analyze that at all because they focus on, for example, Dr. Storch's work, right? We focus on the connection between the patterns to their language development, right? So, for example, how these, different discussions transfer, for example, to their following task, but didn't really focus on this specific collaborative product. So we tend to, say, fill the gap there. But the context.
EAP course?
EAP course, especially in English Language Institute, right? And I know that most of their goals is to learn better how to write academic writing. And they also, they get a chance to learn a lot of academic genres. Like in my study, they learned, research proposal, right? Okay. What specific data did we collect?
You collected from the comments and discussion throughout.
That's right.
You had a questionnaire at the end.
Wonderful. So the wiki archives, right? The discussions, the comments, and say comments, etc. And also, in order to understand students' perceptions, we analyze their interviews and, of course, the reflections in the questionnaires.
How does the history do Yeah, the
Oh, the
discussion
history
comment
is-
history, what is
Yeah,
that?
remember history? I showed you the screenshot there.
Yeah.
Did you remember we have green text as well as the red text here?
Okay,
This is called history.
so that's their individual history?
Yes. So that is to say, you see for sure, like who did what, at which time. I didn't show you the, full picture, but here, at least you know, okay, what are deleted? Maybe somebody contributed something, but they were deleted.
Okay.
Right? So if that's the case, possibly you will say, oh, that must be somebody who didn't have those strong voice there, right? Maybe, this person cannot dominate this, some words. Students sometimes are really say angry when they feel like, oh, why you deleted my, whole paragraph, whatever. So that's the reason why we always want to encourage them to negotiate first using the discussion or comments functions. Then they do that, change that text, based on their discussions. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So the textual features, did you notice that the analysis is a little bit different here? Remember last time we mentioned that when we want to analyze the features of the writing, we focus on the accuracy, complexity, as well as what? The accuracy, complexity, as well as the fluency. For this one, I really feel I needed to measure something else. Why?
Maybe because of the task, this was our research proposal.
Wonderful. Just because this is a new genre, they needed to analyze, understand the, say, they needed to develop their, genre knowledge, right? So I actually measure or evaluate their grasp of the genre, specific genre structure, right? So the rhetorical structure becomes an important measure because they even do not know what specific, say, structure they can follow, right? So that is one feature. That is task related. Wonderful. Then how about next one? Coherence. Coherence is exactly what I contributed to this field as well because I feel like, for collaborative writing, we definitely argue coherence is so important, right? Because only this specific, measure can help us understand whether their collaboration is successful, right? If they are not successful and the collaboration is just like the combination of their individual work, of course that is not good, right? Because coherence can show continuity and unity of their thoughts, right? In a coherent sense, of course. We design that and we hope students can develop the coherence in collaborative writing, right? And I analyzed using the specific scheme that is called coding scheme that is called coherence breaks. The more instances of coherence breaks, of course, the less degree of coherence, right? So once again, so we can see that there are lots of theoretical, analytical coding schemes, whatever you can use, right? And you draw on those previous knowledge and develop it, right? And the next one, I also want to focus on the interaction part. I analyze not only language functions, writing change functions, I also analyze scaffolding strategies. Are you familiar with this one? Did we discuss this? In other paper already, the scaffolding mechanism. In which task we discussed, not only collaborative writing task, we actually discussed in another task, peer revision, that's right. We discussed this already, right? Remember when we read, say, Villani's and colleagues' work, and she analyzed they analyzed the scaffolding mechanism in peer response. So they argue that, scaffolding can occur not only between experts.
It goes. I don't know. It's a ghost in the classroom. It shows up when I'm here. It must be mine.
Okay. so we actually so for example here the scaffolding occurs not only between the experts, the adults and the kids, right? But also it can occur among those classmates, the peers, right? So now I use this, in the analyze this the scaffolding mechanism in the collaborative work. It works too. So you can identify you can identify some scaffolding strategies students use. Of course, I would say the more instances of this scaffolding, the better. I mean, actually, the better interaction can, have, right? Okay. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Very good. And what are the results?
So I just jotted down 3 results.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
So features of wiki interactions contribute to qualities of wiki writing products. That is one result.
Excellent. So that is to say, you actually want to emphasize the affordances of wikis for collaborative writing, right? Wonderful. I love that.
Another one, the study confirms that collaboratively produced and shared text cannot be simply reduced to a combination of individual inputs.
That's the reason we love to measure what? We love to measure, so we want to see whether this, say, piece is, of, continuous thought, right? Logical, right? So that's the reason I add the, measure of coherence. That's right.
And finally, to promote mutual engagement and facilitate writing development in the online writing environment, it might be necessary to evaluate and reward group members' collaborative acts and to encourage collective cognition.
Exactly. We always want to, encourage their, not only individual accountability, right? Of course, it's important because this is collaborative work. You should be present, right? You should actually contribute. But meanwhile, we encourage the mutuality, right? So how can we do that? Then I would like to discuss with you in the next session. I think you actually deserve a break, right? Okay. So we will, in the next, session, we will just focus on writing. We'll do a collaborative writing, and I have a very short prompt for you, and then you try to, use Google Docs to collaborate. We want to put ourselves in a student's shoes again, right? Why should we consider implementing collaborative writing tasks in our second language classes? Okay, that is not a fun task.
This is what we should answer here.
Yes,
Together though, right?
together. I really want you to get it makes sense to you because later when we reflect on it, why I ask this prompt here, I know this is not so fun, but I would like you to think about it. Why I have my rationale of using this prompt. Okay,
Just really want you to know I'm really let down on this prompt.
okay. I don't want you to write really long. Why not even just one paragraph?
Okay.
One
but-
paragraph.
but-
Or if you want to do 2, 3 paragraphs, it's okay. Totally depends on you because later when we put together our thoughts, I want you to reflect on the whole experience. Now, do whatever you like within your group. Okay. I would encourage you, if you like, to at least discuss a little bit, like brainstorm, right? For example, who want to do what, whatever. Again, this should be linked to our readings and lecture, right? So you actually work on this separately, right? Or individually right now, right?
No, we're working
Together.
No, I'm talking about like at this phase. Actually, you can wait for others to write, or you write yourself. You know what I mean?
We're kind of
For
like,
example,
we're dictating to
Yeah.
each other.
oh, interesting. I never thought about that. I love that.
Since we're so close to,
Oh, so interesting. So that's the reason it is nonsense here.
Yeah,
Why we have this here because you are together. Why we But I'm thinking about like you and your home, and you actually need to meet at this moment.
Mhm.
Everything you write,
Right.
but you don't know what the author is thinking over there, but you can see here.
Right.
Right?
I'll write a little bit that she kind of took over and then Rez will pitch in. And I think another way you could do this too is the conversations we are having, we could do in comments.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can do comments too.
Yeah.
The only difference, between this and the wiki is that you cannot do the discussion board.
Yeah.
So like in the very beginning,
Yeah, and now that I think about it, with Lily and I's work, our comments was like we would literally be doing the Google Docs and then we have comments, we talk to each other on Gmail,
Oh,
back and forth.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Good. Do you need maybe 2 more minutes or you're done? Then we can discuss.
I'm not sure what we get into.
You know, to be honest, I do not worry about your product. I really
Okay.
want to have this experience and reflect on this experience.
Right. Okay.
Right? Okay. So, for instance, when I take a look at your paper here, I at least see you actually address the definition. So at least at this moment, I know you try to give the definition first and then let us understand why this is important, right? So you see, you have the citations here. I love that. Okay, give students opportunity, researching, show that. Okay, so you have like the research informed as well as the say pedagogy, say suggested, something like that, right? Why I have say this task is that I will let you answer first. Why I have this writing prompt here?
Right, this collaborative writing.
Yeah, very good one. Anything else? Why this prompt? Not something like collaborative writing a poem, whatever. Like you did that last time. Excellent poem. So fabulous work. Why
Just a good review.
Very good. I just want to ask. Remember, collaborative writing gives the students a chance to reflect on your learning or just apply newly learned knowledge, right? So I try to feel like, okay, since you take my lecture and you have a reading and you know for sure, you actually develop the knowledge already, right? And then you, of course, can write it. So this writing can reflect your knowledge, right? So two things I want to introduce to you. The Google Docs actually have something called the history. I know everybody knows this, right? The history, you see new changes. So this is actually, of course, we know for sure, and a different contribution and a different, coded text, right? The history, But here I want to take a look at this one. I don't know whether you have, learned this before, or at least you heard that before. I don't think you heard it. It was quite new. It was developed, I think, 2 years ago by, Dr. Warschauer. That is called DocuWiz. Did you see that one? DocuWiz. Did you notice that? That is so good tool. When I click on that DocuWiz, it shows you exactly who did what contribution each individual contributed. For example, they will do the counting. So you contribute, for example, 100 words, and another student contributed with 80 words, and another student contributed 20 words, And they give you the, say contribution, say calculation, and then later you can see for sure, oh, this student didn't actually write much. Maybe this student contributed to the, say discussion session a lot, but not this writing session, So once I click on that, and then it gives beautiful figures here, then you can see for sure that who did what at which time, right? So for example, I told you that you need to have the writing prompt like this, and then these are the, say numbers. Does it make sense? So that is to say, these different colors give you the chance to see what individual person contributed to this class, to this writing task. Is that clear?
Yeah.
I think that's good, because at least you can know the general trend, right? You really don't need to count each individual one. Does it make sense? For example, I remember when Dr. Storch, in Dr. Storch's work, when she tried to kind of understand each individual's contribution, and then she has to do also like word counts.
Right.
But for this one, you didn't do anything like that, and it pop up everything. You even don't need to have the Word document, say to calculate. You even don't need to add that word count. And it gives you the, say the table here. Does it make sense? Like this, right? So I think that is very cool. Is that clear? Now let us go back. What specific comments do you have about this collaborative writing? Because this is so weird, right? You sit together
that's true.
and then you collaborate, But I previously, I never had my students do like this, because especially if the students are online students, I would definitely want them to do it online. Meanwhile, asynchronous task, because for me, at least they have 1 week to finish a certain collaborative work, right? So that's the reason I have the asynchronous Google Drive or Google Doc or Wiki collaborative writing. right? But I mean, sometimes maybe you need that, for example, you're pressed for something, and you need to kind of like collaborate remotely with somebody just within this specific period of time. And then you do this synchronously. Because Google Docs is very interesting. It afford not only the asynchronous communication, but also the synchronous communication. And you will even see like who wrote at the same time.
I wonder if synchronous communication is better for closer to the end
That's right.
than the beginning.
That's right. I definitely agree. That's the reason I always conducted the asynchronous, collaborative writing in my class.
Because we're just kind of pivoting ideas right now, and
That's right.
it's hard. It's easier to collaborate synchronous when you've got everything kind of together and you
That's
just
right.
fine tune.
That's right. However, that definitely involves more deliberations about the tasks. Because do you think that it would be helpful for you to divide the labor? Did you divide the labor at all? Just now you say you wrote one, I wrote one, No.
No, we just kind of put our heads together.
Yeah, and at the same time, right? Because for me, if you do the asynchronous collaborative writing, you really don't want to just have only one person who start, right? And then you continue to write. You definitely want to put all your heads together first and say, hey, what do you think? What should be the focus? Say, oh, this writing, whatever.
But there's also an inherent kind of time aspect of this.
Yeah.
Because we kind of felt like okay, we got in your head, you're like, okay, we got about 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Because
That's
it's just we're in a class, but
That's right.
asynchronous, you can do it and you can kind of take your time and work
That's right.
things out a little faster.
Exactly. Exactly. Say, especially for language learners,
Yeah.
right? They feel like, again, this simultaneous, say communication would actually work better for them because they may have some good voice, but they feel like at this moment they're not ready
Yeah,
to
the pressure.
put, say,
Pressure, yeah.
presentation. Right? Okay. Now let us talk about these different pedagogical issues. By the way, do you like this Google Drive or Google Docs collaboration?
Yeah.
Do you want to use it maybe in the future? Have the students do it at home, asynchronously? Yeah.
Maybe.
Because sometimes in the classroom, we just feel like the class time is so limited, don't you think so? That's the reason why I love collaborative writing. I feel like, okay, I give you this lecture, and you know for sure how, say you can write your research proposal, right? And then you go back and review everything we've learned, then you contribute to your group work. And then during the whole process, again, you and your classmates or your group mates learn together. It's kind of the second round of learning. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So then, of course, the learning occurred outside the classroom.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, right. So this one, this one I would definitely say ramp up this pedagogical aspects.
Would collaborative writing also include, let's say we were all still in different places, but we're using, say, Skype at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I want to discuss, mode of communication. So now let's discuss this mode of communication because I know there are different options for you. Some of them just want to do face-to-face collaboration, right? But some of them do not only the wiki collaborating, they combine it with chats. So they need to say, I know some the researchers have already explored how the students interacted during the collaborative process using the Google Docs together with the Skype chatting. So that is to say, they figure out, for example, in the very beginning, in the first stage, pre-writing stage, they want to chat a little bit. What is my, purpose of this, writing? Or so what is the writing directions? What specific aspects we want to include, right? Like research proposal, that is very easy because you have specific rhetorical structure already, right? And then say, what can you include? Do you want to, contribute to the background? Do you want to contribute to the research questions? You know what I mean? Then they divide their labors a little bit by chatting. Does it make sense? Because not like the wiki, there's no discussion board. They just want to verbal communicate with each other. That's the reason they have chatting there. And then they write. Anytime they may write after this Skype session, come back again, or they can do simultaneously. But usually they do asynchronously. They just chat a little bit and decide everything, division of labor, the writing directions, and who will do what, and maybe a timeline, and then we are done at this moment. Maybe they come back tomorrow, and then they work on the Google Docs. Does that make sense? And also like the wikis, again, if you want to have the students check. And I remember when I did the wiki collaborative writing, I even get the chance in my wiki site, embed Skype. That is very interesting. It looks like you are just on that same interface. Does that make sense? If you do like Skype, it seems like this is a totally different tool. But you just can like embed this Skype, still Skype is there, and then you click on the icon, and then you link it to that function. Right? And I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So think about the mode. I would not do the face-to-face collaborative writing because I don't think that is so authentic. Even now, say in a workplace, you do not just have that 30 minutes to work on something, right? You still have time to reflect. I thought, that is much better for language learners. So, of course, think about these different modes and find out the most, say, optimal one for your students. Okay? And the second one is grouping. Oh, by the way, the writing task. How about the task? What specific task do you want?
I think you can basically use any task.
Okay.
I think from my experience, maybe in future I wouldn't use it for multimodal tasks, just because it's a little harder to add different semiotic modes.
Okay.
So maybe find a different thing, but anything that's just from exposition, writing, argumentative, any type of writing task you can really do on Google.
That's right. So especially good. So here I want to remind you, the task should be motivating and authentic, right? So motivating, I mean, for example, if this task is actually has the audience, then it would be wonderful because I remember the researchers did something like a school brochure. The kids just really needed to actually create a certain school brochure, and the audience are their parents, and they needed to actually distribute that, to their parents. So that is so authentic, right? So that's definitely motivating, right? And also, in this writing task, I remember some foreign language scholars even include the prompts, such as requirements, such as remember to use the present perfect tense in your narrative writing. What they even indicate a specific structure you want to include. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
If you really want to encourage the students to use this specific knowledge, once again, it is learn to write, or write to learn, because you write not just in order to improve your writing skill, but also to practice your linguistic skills, your language proficiency, right? Yeah, we can have a lot of tasks. Those tasks are so important. The better task, the more, likely that you will be successful in this, collaborative writing tasks. You cannot say because I use these technologies and you guys will work collaborate. No, you should have really good writing tasks to design, and everybody works so hard to, make it successful. And then grouping. So once again, I talked about different ways of grouping. So I even didn't think about like the group. We talked about the language proficiency level. We talked about the say cultural background, right? So I remember it's very interesting. In my experiment, one of the students who come from Russia and worked with 2 other Chinese students. That student was so unhappy because he mentioned in the interview that, I'm a minority. I thought I was isolated. But it's very interesting when you take a look at the Google documents. He actually dominated the, say writing. He actually contributed a lot, and he actually, had a good contribution. But still, he feels a sense of, being isolated. I think it's so interesting. So you definitely need to actually work out well on this because you want to, let the students know for sure how to collaborate with others, and especially develop the foster, I should say, really good attitude toward teamwork, right? So this is important too. So this is something to do with student training. Train them how to use technologies for collaborative writing, and even train them to have the mindset that collaboration is helpful for you. Because some students will feel like, oh, I don't like it, just want to do individual work. But you always give the students opportunity to just work on individual work. Don't you think so? Always times when you collaborate, you assign collaborative work, you always give them the option to choose to write individually. So I think that works. So you still have them do individually. If you feel the students don't want to even try that, you would encourage them to see. Of course, during orientation, you show them the benefits of working with others, right? But I know some scholars give the students opportunities to, just choose individual writing task. You can decide, And next one is grading and assessment. We don't really want to assess the final product. Again, remember, have the writing process as one part of your grading criteria, right? So for example, you include like individual contribution or mutual scaffolding, whatever, like these descriptors in your rubrics. And then the students can kind of reflect on the rubrics. They can monitor their writing process themselves, right? For example, this specific contribution, collaboration, their mutuality account for at least maybe 20%, right? Even though their final product is excellent, right? Maybe that is only completed by one student who's actually really good, but those students, those products cannot really, get the perfect score because of your contribution. Because each individual, for example, somebody just withdrew and didn't participate at all, then that would be, something that you don't want. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments? I hope you enjoyed it, I really hope you enjoy it. Because actually I am so passionate about collaborative writing. Every time I feel in my, research, say conference, in a conference, usually the audience will chat with me and discuss more about how to implement collaborative writing. And I feel they just really, really are kind of like hesitant to begin this new endeavor. They never tried that before. But I think try it. Encourage them to try it, and you will feel whether this works for you or not. Right? Yeah. I hope you enjoy implementing collaborative writing in the future.
I think the concern probably, especially last time, you were worried to try something new sometimes.
Yeah, but again, this is something to do with the outside assignment. This is what I'm thinking. Because you only just need to maybe have one session devoted to the orientation, like how you use the technology. Like I know Mimi did something like a pilot study. Did you actually train students how to do it? Maybe the students feel like
We tried
right?
a little bit, but I didn't train them at all.
Because they know for sure how
They
to
were
do it.
familiar with Google Docs.
Yeah, but still, we need a step guidance. Because in order to have the best patterns of interaction, best interaction, you definitely want to what's wrong? Okay. Why this sound?
They open the water
It's so funny.
in the restroom, and that's water.
That makes sense. I know now. Okay.
Sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything's good, right? Wonderful. Thank you so much for your participation. Excellent comments today. Dr. Carter, and send high praise for you guys. You are amazing. Thank you so much. And we actually passed this task with flying colors. Thank you.